So there are 4 temperaments, because if you have done the MBTI test before, are familiar with MBTI types, there are actually 16 MBTI types, because you have 4 letters. Each type have 4 letters. Like for you are likely INFP, for example. So each letter have 2 choices: introvert, extrovert, thinking and feeling. So 2 to the 4 to the power of 2 is 16. So there are 16 types. So, but I will introduce a quick framework from a psychologist that study MBTI and simplify the system. It's David Kiersey, who give a more scientific way to categorize people. So mankind, since the Greek time, they have categorized temperaments. And usually they come in a group of 4, but we also use a lot of stereotyping and generalization, race, nationality, horoscope, social status to categorize people. But so we are trying to use the latest and the more scientific temperaments to quickly read people and understand themselves. So he says, Please Understand Me 1 and 2. I think Please Understand Me 2 is quite a popular book that you can still find in the bookstore. So 16 possible MBTI types are categorized into 4 big groups based on their core drives. You have so you have two groups that are intuitive and 2 groups that are sensing. So if you remember, intuitive are more of bigger picture thinking, more abstract thinking. Sensing S is more concrete, more detail oriented. Then you further divide intuitive into feeling type and thinking type. So you have idealist and rationals. And the sensing type, you are divided into 2 types: the perceiving type and judging type. So perceiving means more free flow, more creative, more open-ended. Judging is more structured, more step by step. So, and the interesting thing to note here is, overall, the intuitive group are the minority. You have about 15% idealists in the population, 50% in the rational. Then the majority, the most popular are Guardians, SJ. And the second most popular is Artisans, SP. So let's go to each of them. Idealist. So if you remember, if you belong to any of these MBTI types, INFP, INFJ, ENFP, ENFJ, then you belong to this idealist temperament. Hey, hello, Izudin. Welcome. So we have just started. So we are the first group here, the temperaments. So if you remember, intuitive and combined with feeling, the potential of thing, combined with the concern, the preference to care about more about feeling, about morality and human values and human corporations. It gives result to a type that have a focus on a big picture, focus on how to inspire and empower people to achieve their full potential, usually at a very large scale. So they value harmony, collaboration, sensitivity, ideas, vision, humanities, and they are often excel as teacher, preacher, psychologist, counselor, social workers. You get the idea of, if they are more creative, they are like movie producer, writers, poets. You get the ideas. Some famous people that have a big impact, like Martin Luther King, Mahatma Gandhi, a lot of those freedom fighter, because they fight for something that is not about business or money, but more about getting a lot of people to get a higher potential. You get the idea. So they can be very popular, or they can work one-on-one as a psychologist, but it's about human potential. They are very intuitive about that. Strengths, if you are part of this group, you excel in abstract and motivational communication. You know what to communicate to uplift the spirit of other people. They are good parable, metaphor, big picture thinking, collaborative, creative, sensitive, empathetic. But their weaknesses, an objective understanding of weaknesses is that you can be too empathetic, overly sensitive at times. And because you are intuitive, you can be quite dreamy and idealistic and not as practical as those who are sensing type. Does that make sense? Let's do a quick contrast of this. Still intuitive, still abstract and big picture thinking, but they are thinking type. People like Albert Einstein and a lot of business and CEO people are rational. So whether they are introvert or extroverts, it doesn't matter. But they share a common characteristic that they care about abstraction and potential. And they combine that with a very strong preference for logics. Logics or thinking is about believe more into quantifiable data, structure, results. Even feeling can be categorized, can be measured. You know, they don't trust feeling for the sake of feeling. It's need to solve a problem. So their core drive, when you combine intuition and thinking, it is about technical mastery to make things to the next level. Whether it's an introvert like Einstein who want to produce something that is more accurate, that is better than the previous physics scientist, or some extrovert like Mark Zuckerberg or Elon Musk. They want to produce something better. They want to go to Mars instead of just go to the moon. So the idea is the focus is on something more technical, but big picture vision, by technical problem solving. Unlike Idealist NF, who is more about human potential and human value, this one is a lot more technical. They value professional growth, competency, self-sufficiency, fun and mental stimulation. They often work as scientists, lecturer, business manager, consultant, strategist. The strengths: deep thinking, innovative, the ability to solve and think about very complex problems. They excel in strategic thinking. They can be very detached from their emotions, so that they can quantify and solve everything and not affected by their subjective emotions. But their weaknesses, when there is strength, there is weaknesses. Thinking, they can be quite argumentative and blunt if they're not careful. They can be workaholic because and very detached and avoid discussing feeling, and it can be quite a big problem for their personal close relationship. They might be very brilliant strategists or business or CEO, but they might not be emotionally available or be workaholic. So that makes a lot of sense when I read memoir and books about Elon Musk. I mean, there are a lot of things that doesn't surprise me when he got divorced a few times and he has the same pattern of problem with their wife or their kids. But yeah, intuition. So similarly, they can not be too practical sometimes. They can be very obsessed with big vision, big ideas. They can get bored easily. Especially unlike NF, NT are a bit more mental people. They need mental challenges, and they don't like to take care of small details, logistic, practicality. They don't care about that. They care more about the big strategy. Does that make sense? Okay, let me quickly do the other two. I hope it's not too overwhelming. So we have covered the two intuitive types. So now we talk about the most popular two other types, Artisan and Guardian. They are both the sensing detail-oriented types. So when you combine sensing with perceiving, you have someone who is detail-oriented but very impromptu, very creative. I like to think of them as the James Bond type. Very charismatic, very action-oriented. This is a bit more advanced, but they are more driven by sensing but introverted. They pay attention a lot to the outside world and how to respond fast. They want quick action, live in the moment, big win and big results. So they gravitate towards career that require aesthetic or motor sensory finesses, like being a chef, being a performer, being a sportsman, you know. The strength is adaptable, quick in the moment response. They're good at aesthetic appeal, fashion, cooking. They are fun people, fun partner, lively, realistic. But their weaknesses, because they are detail-oriented, they can sometimes miss a big picture. Unlike idealists or rationals, artisans are very live in the moment people. They like gambling. They can be addicted to gambling or fine dining or this expensive stuff without thinking about long-term consequences or long-term big picture results. Yeah, they and perceiving as well. That means they like to be creative and live in the moment. They don't like to plan the details too much. They take too much risk. As contrast to artisan, Guardian is a lot more structured. Whether extrovert or introvert doesn't matter, but they are a combination of details and realistic thinking with structure. They like step by step. Think about like the typical accountant, the typical auditor. You have to do from A, B, C, D, Z, you know. You do one thing and go to the next. You need to follow a system. You need to follow established standard and rules. Can be nitpicking. So they are more driven by an internal sense of details. The details are more less in the moment and more predetermined, established. So they have very strong memory for details. If you meet people like this, they are very good. They have very good memory. They care about past and tradition. They are good at listening to their body. And they like to take care of the logistic and stability duty. So their core drive is to be responsible and reliable. Unlike artisan, they want impressive result, quick impressive result. Guardian, 40% of the population, they are responsible people. They want stability. They want things to be the same as it is, usually established and slow and meticulous. They values clear-cut rules, hierarchy, authority, traditional success, properly, loyalty, and reliability. That makes sense? The strengths, memory, attention to details, best person to take care of the logistics. They are the pillars of community and tradition, uphold the past, make sure everything is well taken care of, reliable, loyal. Weaknesses, because they use judging, which means they are a bit more too structured. They don't like things that are too, they are not the most adaptable people. They are resistant to change. Because they are sensing of concrete, they can be too focused on the detail and miss out the big picture. They only focus on the trees, you know. Sometimes they're like, oh, you have to do A, B, C, D, Z. Sometimes there's a faster way, a more innovative way, but they like, we have always been doing this. So why are we, you know, I don't trust any fancy stuff. You need to follow the steps. I'm sure you have met some of these people at your workplace. They are quite very nitpicky people. They seem kind of slow sometimes, but they are very reliable people. So again, Iselin, I'm not sure if you have the handout link in the chat with you. If not, I can share again. Do you have the link to the, can you see a link in the chat about the handout? Okay. So the exercise here is look look at the core drive, especially the core drive and the strengths and weaknesses. What are the top 1 or 2 choices that resonate the most with you? Out of these 4 temperaments, some people can clearly see one type because you have done the exercise in the previous session about your cognitive preferences. But some people like they hesitate between two choices. That is normal because typically we tend to have a more natural sense of self like when we are younger, and then because of social pressure or work, we develop another persona, and that is totally okay. And after you have identified this, think about your story, your identity. How have you changed? How because you have written previously about your strengths and weaknesses and your aspirations in the previous session. How does it make you feel? Personally, for me, for example, before knowing about this system, my identity is like fluctuating, and I have many dreams and many desire. I want to be perfect in many things. I want to be like Guardian as well. I want to be stable. I want stable. I want traditional success. I also want, sometimes I feel like I want to be like Elon Musk. I want to be a beautiful, powerful business. But after knowing about this, after focus my identity, I realized that you can't be perfect. And I'm a lot more determined that, okay, I have so many choices. Coaching and psychology for me is the best because I strongly believe that I am an idealist. It's, in the end, in the long term, it's not about traditional success or solving any technical problem. It's about helping people, inspire people. So yeah, I am determined to do something on my own in this. Even though actually my father, he's an guardian, ESTJ. He's a very successful traditional businessman. He thinks that what I do is very too abstract, too dreamy. He said, okay, you just follow the path, the traditional path, get married, do a job that is like follow the family business and everything. But I am determined to do because I know that is my destiny and my type.